name is Christopher John Francis Boone. I know all the countries in the world and their capital cities and every prime number up to 7,057. 8 years ago, when I first met Siobhan, she showed me this picture. And I knew that it meant sad, like when I found that dead dog. Then she showed me this picture. And I knew that it meant happy, like when I'm reading about Apollo space missions, or when I'm still awake at 4 in the morning and I can walk up and down the street and pretend that I'm the only person in the whole world. And then she drew some other faces. And I was unable to say what these meant. I got Siobhan to draw lots of these faces, and then I wrote down exactly what they meant, and I kept them on a piece of paper in my pocket, and I took it out when I didn't understand what somebody was saying. But it was very difficult to decide which of these diagrams fit these, what? But it was very difficult to decide which of these diagrams was most likely the face they were making, because people's faces move very, very quickly. And when I told Siobhan that I was doing this, she said that it probably made people feel very... and laughed. So I tore up the original piece of paper and I threw it away. And Siobhan apologized. And now, when I don't know what somebody is saying, I ask them what they mean, or I will just walk away. This will not be a funny book. I cannot tell jokes because I do not understand them. Here is a joke. It is an example of fathers. His face was drawn, but the curtains were real. I know why this is meant to be funny because I asked. It's because drawn has 3 meanings. 1, drawn with a pencil. 2, exhausted. And 3, pulled across a window. And meaning 1 refers to both the face and the curtains. And meaning 2 refers to the face. And meaning 3 only to the curtains. If I try to tell this joke to myself, making the word mean 3 things at the same time, it's like hearing 3 different pieces of music at the same time, which is uncomfortable and confusing and not nice like white noise. It's like 3 people are trying to talk to you at the same time about 3 different things, and that is why there's no jokes in this book. I find people confusing. This is for 2 main reasons. The first main reason is that people do a lot of talking without using any words. Siobhan says that if you raise one eyebrow, it can mean different things. It can mean, I want to do sex with you. Or it can also mean, I think what you just said was very stupid. Siobhan also says that if you close your mouth and breathe out through your nose, that it can mean that you are relaxed, or that you are bored, or that you are angry, and it all depends on how much air comes out of your nose and how fast and what shape your mouth was in and where you're sitting and what you just said before and hundreds of other things which are too complicated to work out in just a few seconds. The second main reason is that people often talk using metaphors. Here are some examples of metaphors. I laughed my socks off. He was the apple of her eye. They had a skeleton in the closet. We had a pig of a day. The dog was stone dead. I think it should be called a lie, because a pig is not like a day, and people do not have skeletons in their cupboards. And when I try to make a picture of the phrase in my head, it just confuses me, because imagining an apple in someone's eye doesn't have anything to do with liking someone a lot, and then you forget what the person is talking about. My name is a metaphor. It means carrying Christ, and it was the name given to St. Christopher because he carried Jesus Christ across the river. This makes me wonder what he was called before he carried Christ across the river. But he wasn't called anything because this is an apocryphal story, which means that it is a lie too. Mother used to say that Christopher was a nice name because it's a story about being kind and helpful, but I don't want my name to mean a story being kind or helpful. I want my name to mean me. I used to think that mother and father would get divorced. This was because they had lots of arguments and sometimes they hated each other. This is because they had the stress of looking after someone with behavioral problems, like I have. I used to have lots of behavioral problems, but I don't anymore because I'm grown up and I can take decisions for myself and I can do things on my own, like go out of the house and buying things at the shop at the end of the road. There are some examples of my behavioral problems. Not talking to people for a long time. Once I didn't talk to anybody for 5 weeks. Not eating or drinking for a long time. When I was 6, Mother gave me a drink, strawberry flavored Slimming Meals out of a measuring jug, and we would have competitions to see how fast I could drink 1 liter. Not liking being touched. Screaming when I am angry or confused. Not liking being in really small places with other people. Smashing things when I am angry or confused. Groaning. Not liking yellow or brown things, and especially not touching yellow or brown things. Refusing to use my toothbrush if anyone else has touched it. Not eating different sorts of foods that are touching each other. Not noticing that people are angry at me. Not smiling. Saying other things that people think are rude. People always say that you should tell the truth, but they do not mean that when you are telling that, because you're not allowed to tell old people that they are old, and you are not allowed to tell people that they smell foreign or if a grown-up has made a fart, and you are not allowed to say, I don't like you, unless that person has done something truly horrible to you. Doing stupid things. Stupid things are like emptying a jar of peanut butter onto the table in the kitchen and making it level with a knife so it covers the entire surface, right up to the edges. Or burning things on the gas stove to see what happens to them, like shoes, or foil, or sugar. Hitting other people, hating France, driving Mother's car. I only did this once by borrowing the keys when she went into town on the bus, and I hadn't driven a car before because I was 8 years old and 5 months, so I drove it into a wall, and the car isn't there anymore because Mother is dead. Getting cross when someone has moved the furniture. It is permitted to move the chairs and the table in the kitchen because that's different, but it makes me feel dizzy or sick if someone has moved the sofa and the chairs around in the living and dining room. Sometimes these things would make Mother and Father really angry, and they would shout at me or they would shout at each other. Sometimes Father would say, Christopher, if you do not behave, I swear I will knock the living daylights out of you. Or Mother would say, Jesus, Christopher, I am seriously considering putting you in a home. Or Mother would say, you are going to drive me into an early grave.